I still remember the night my future disappeared across our dining room table. It was supposed to be a normal Sunday dinner. My aunt was visiting, my sister Emily kept laughing about her college plans, and my mom had that tight smile she wore when she was about to announce something important. Halfway through dessert, she cleared her throat. "I've made a decision about the college fund," she said. My heart lifted. That fund had been promised to me since I was 10. Then she turned to Emily. "It's yours." The room went quiet. I blinked, thinking I misunderstood. "Wait, what?" Mom sighed like I was being difficult. "Emily needs it more. She has real academic potential. You'll figure something out." My aunt looked down at her plate. Emily didn't protest. She just smiled. And in that moment, I realized something painful. I wasn't losing money. I was losing my place in my own family. That night I packed my bags. Not dramatically. Not with shouting or slammed doors. Just quietly. I folded my clothes into a cheap suitcase and left before sunrise. No one tried to stop me. No one even woke up. The last thing I heard before the door closed was my mom laughing with Emily in the kitchen. For a long time after that, I convinced myself maybe she was right. Maybe I wasn't the one with real potential. The first year on my own was brutal. I worked 2 jobs. Morning shifts at a cafe where the smell of burnt coffee soaked into my clothes, and evening shifts answering customer service calls for a tech company. I lived in a tiny apartment that barely had space for a bed and a second-hand desk. College wasn't an option anymore. Not without that fund. Every time I saw my friends posting photos from campus, wearing university hoodies and talking about internships, something twisted inside my chest. Meanwhile, Emily posted pictures from her dorm. New laptop. New clothes. Party photos. My college fund. I tried not to look. One night at the call center, during a quiet shift, I started sketching ideas on a notepad. I had always been good with systems and organization, something my mom used to dismiss as overthinking. But at the tech company, I noticed something. Small businesses constantly struggled with managing customer communication. Emails, support tickets, follow-ups. Everything was messy. What if there was a simpler system? I started writing code after work. Slowly. Piece by piece. It was messy, amateur, full of mistakes. But it worked. My coworker Daniel noticed first. Daniel sat in the cubicle next to me, a calm guy in his 30s who always carried the same metal coffee thermos. One night he leaned over my desk. "What's that?" "Nothing," I said quickly. He picked up the notebook anyway. After a few minutes, he raised an eyebrow. "You built this?" "It's just an idea." "No," he said. "It's a product." I laughed nervously. "I didn't even go to college." Daniel shrugged. "Neither did Steve Jobs." That was the first time someone had said something like that to me. For months, Daniel helped me refine the idea. Nights turned into coding sessions. Weekends disappeared into debugging problems and testing features. Slowly, my little system turned into a real platform. The first customer was a local bakery. They paid $20 a month. I remember staring at the notification email for 10 minutes. $20. It wasn't about the money. Someone believed the product was worth paying for. Then another business signed up. Then another. Within 2 years, I quit the call center. I launched the company officially from my tiny apartment. I named it ClearDesk. But while my life was slowly moving forward, my family story kept unfolding in the background. Through relatives, I heard bits and pieces. Emily switched majors 3 times. She failed 2 semesters. My mom paid extra tutoring fees. Extra housing. Extra everything. One Christmas my aunt called me. "You know your sister dropped out, right?" I paused. "No," she said, college wasn't for her. "Of course." But the strangest truth came later. Daniel and I were reviewing early investor documents when something caught my eye. My mother had originally saved that college fund in a joint investment account. Both our names had been listed when I was younger. I asked Daniel to look deeper. After some digging, he looked up slowly. "You realize something, right?" "What?" "That money was technically meant for both of you." I stared at the screen. Not just favoritism. It had legally been mine too. And it was all gone. But by then, something strange had happened. I didn't feel angry anymore. Because ClearDesk had grown faster than I ever imagined. We had employees now. Investors. Real office space. And the night everything changed forever was still ahead. It happened 3 years later. On a Tuesday morning, when my phone started ringing nonstop, and my company appeared on national television, the morning my life changed again started like any other. I was sitting in the ClearDesk office, reviewing onboarding reports with Daniel, when my phone began vibrating across the table. Once. Twice. Then nonstop. At first I ignored it. Startups are chaotic. Phones ring all the time. But when Daniel glanced at his screen and suddenly went silent, I looked up. What? He turned his laptop toward me. On the screen was a headline. From call center worker to CEO. The startup founder changing small business tech. Below it was my face. A picture from a recent conference. My stomach dropped. What is that? Daniel grinned. You're on national news. Within minutes our inbox exploded. Interview requests. Investor emails. Partnership offers. But one notification froze me. Mom, incoming call. I hadn't seen that name on my screen in almost 5 years. I stared at it until the phone stopped ringing. Then it rang again. And again. Finally I answered. Hello. Her voice came through instantly. Oh my God, is it really you? I closed my eyes. Yes, Mom. She sounded breathless. We saw you on TV. Your company, your office. Emily, and I couldn't believe it. Emily. Of course. There was a pause before she continued. We should meet. Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry. Just we should meet. A week later I walked into a restaurant downtown. Mom and Emily were already sitting at the table. For a moment I almost didn't recognize them. Mom looked older, more tired. Emily scrolled through her phone until she noticed me standing there. Then she smiled awkwardly. Wow, she said. You look successful. I sat down. Mom reached for my hands. Oh honey, we're so proud of you. Proud. The word echoed strangely. I remembered the dining room table. The college fund. Her saying Emily had real potential. I gently pulled my hands back. Why did you want to meet? Mom and Emily exchanged a quick glance. Then Mom sighed. Well, things have been difficult lately. Of course they had. Emily leaned forward. I had some business ideas, she said quickly. And I thought maybe you could help invest. There it was. Not even 5 minutes. Mom nodded. You're doing so well. Family should help family. For a long moment I said nothing. Then I asked quietly. Do you remember the college fund? The table went still. Mom's expression tightened. That was years ago. Yes, I said. It was. Emily shifted in her chair. You turned out fine though. Fine. I almost laughed. I thought about the nights sleeping 4 hours. The years of doubt. The empty apartment. The humiliation of watching my sister spend the money meant for both of us. I leaned forward. You gave her everything, I said calmly. Mom looked defensive. She needed it. And I didn't? Silence. Then Mom tried to smile. Well, it all worked out. That sentence told me everything. In her mind, the story had a happy ending. Because now I had money. But something inside me had already changed. I wasn't the girl from that dinner table anymore. I reached into my bag and placed a document on the table. Emily frowned. What's that? A copy of the original investment account, I said. Mom's face paled slightly. Daniel had helped me retrieve the records months earlier. Half of that fund legally belonged to me. Mom swallowed. You're not going to see your family, are you? The fear in her voice surprised me. For a moment, I let the silence stretch. Then I shook my head. No, both of them exhaled. Relief flooded their faces. But I'm also not giving you anything. Emily blinked. What? I stood up slowly. I built my life without that money, I said. And without this family. Mom's voice trembled. But we're still your mother and sister. I looked at them carefully. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just clarity. Family, I said quietly, doesn't take your future and call it a lesson. I picked up my bag. And it definitely doesn't show up years later asking for a return on their investment. No one followed me when I walked out. Outside, the city buzzed with its usual noise: cars, voices, life moving forward. My phone vibrated again. Another news request. Another investor email. Another opportunity. For years, I thought losing that college fund had ruined my future. But standing there on the sidewalk, something strange settled in my chest. Peace. Because the truth was simple. The moment my family chose someone else over me was the moment I finally started choosing myself.